Well, hello everybody. Welcome back into the Colored Gemstone Academy. I am your instructor, Paul Deasy, and this is my YouTube channel, Paul Deasy Gemstones. Well, I know what you're thinking. What's with the shirt? What's with the shirt? Has he gone full on cowboy? Well, actually, there's a reason for us, and I want you to see the back of the shirt because this lesson, which is episode 60, is wild horse. Okay, so that was a little bit weak. So once again, welcome to episode 60 of the Colored Gemstone Academy, and this is all about a gem that many of you probably never heard of, but still remains one of my favorite gems, and it is called wild horse. Now, before we get to the lesson, I want to remind everybody, if you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. It doesn't cost you a penny. It's completely free. But as long as you continue to watch these, I can continue doing these lessons for you for absolutely free. All right, so this one is about wild horse. Now, wild horse is, actually, I should probably show you what it looks like first. It is a beautiful, relatively new find in the gem world. It is a type of magnesite that occurs in the Gila Wilderness area in southern Arizona. So this new magnesite was first discovered near Globe, Arizona. So for those of you that know about Globe, Arizona, that's where that famous Sleeping Beauty turquoise mine was discovered. And that shut down in 2012, I want to say. It's really been quite a long time now that it's been closed. But anyway, because of where it's found, a lot of people will erroneously call this, and some people still do to this day, and I don't like when they do that, they call it wild horse turquoise. Now, this is not turquoise at all, even though it's mined in similar areas where turquoise comes from. If you remember from earlier lessons, turquoise is a hydrous phosphate of copper and aluminum. If you have no copper, you cannot have turquoise. And magnesite, the wild horse magnesite, has absolutely no copper in it. So it is simply called wild horse. It is called wild horse, and probably because of its resemblance to the pinto horse, which has that brown and white spots in it, and that's the type of horse that is most, and they're found in the wild still in the West, the pinto horse with that brown and white, and it's the kind that the Native Americans kind of gravitate towards, that painted horse or the pinto horse. So if the name magnesite sounds familiar to some of you subscribers out there, it's probably because of another lesson I did called pristine. And pristine is a pure white magnesite. And this is an example of this pristine that came from Nevada. And that is a magnesite as well. But if you wanted to find out more about pristine, I don't think I've done a full-on lesson of pristine yet, which like an in-depth lesson, but I'll probably do one day. But I believe it's episode 13. You'll see a little bit of a trip that Judy Crowell is my wife, that she and I did when we went to Nevada to the pristine mines. It's a little 6 or 7 minute lesson if you want to watch that. It's episode 13 in the Colored Gemstone Academy. But first, we're going to get into that boring part that I call the vital statistics. And again, these are how gems are identified as what they are and how you can compare or knock out the fact that it's not another gem. For example, this magnesite isn't howlite. It's a completely different mineral. Okay, so first of all, the chemical composition of magnesite is magnesium carbonate. So again, that's the structure that makes up that chemical composition of the stone. The crystal structure is considered trigonal. So again, that separates it from some of the other types that you've seen, whether they be hexagonal or cubic. It is trigonal, which is not triclinic either. The hardness, not terribly hard. It's a 3.5 to a 4.5 on the Mohs scale of hardness. Puts it a little bit softer, perhaps, than turquoise is. Remember, the Mohs scale of hardness is literally a measurement of what gem will scratch another gem. Is it something you can wear every day? Sure. It's more of an opaque, so it's not crystalline in its structure. So it's kind of a conglomeration of different elements, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Refractive index, no, this is not known for its sparkle. Actually, this is some samples that I bought when I was in Tucson. Looks like I paid $65 for these, which could have been a pair of dangle earrings or anything like that. It's not known for sparkle. 1.508 to 1.510 would be the refractive index. Again, this is not a gemstone that's going to be known for its sparkle. The specific gravity. Now this again speaks to the heft of that gemstone. Now the specific gravity is going to be between 3 to 3.2. And to give you other things to compare that with, you're going to look at, I mean, it's relatively heavy. So your sapphires and your rubies are going to be a 4 on that specific gravity, or the heft of the gemstone. This is 3 to 3.2. Part of that is because the magnesite name came from the magnesium and hematite. And hematite is actually one of the heavier stones. So that's why it's going to be up there in the 3.2 range in the specific gravity. Okay, so why the wild horse? I said most of you probably have never heard of it, or perhaps never owned it or seen it in person. And why do I like it so much? Well, I first encountered this gemstone in person, and I have not been to the mine as of yet. Actually, when we were in Tucson, and the guy Frank I'm going to introduce you to in a little bit, we were just kind of talking about some of the gems that he always brings to us, and he pointed to an area out of Tucson, which was pointing towards Globe, Arizona, and he said, that's right where that White Horse mine is located. So I encountered it probably close to 10 years ago, maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, could have been 10 years ago. And every single year, I go to Tucson. And Tom Elliott is a friend of mine who you've met. He's probably forgotten more about gems than I will ever know. He's one of the only graduate jeweler gemologists in the world. He's been on some question and answer series with me here. He also knows pretty much everybody who mines in the United States, as well as all around the world. And he has a friend that he introduced me to. His name is Frank. And Frank is a very interesting character. Now, Frank lives in his pickup truck. It literally doubles as his office. And I mean that. He doesn't have an office. He travels all around the United States, Southwest United States and Mexico. And every year we meet up with him in Tucson. And he has the back of his pickup truck filled with buckets and buckets and buckets of rough from various mines all over the United States and Mexico. They sometimes even have names to them yet, or we give them names. When I say he lives in the truck and that is his office, when we met him in Nevada and he picked us up from the airport so that we could go to the Pristine mine, he had his truck for about a month or two, and I think he had 20,000 miles on it already. So he goes through those trucks about one a year, and he says it like this, quite candidly. He says, if I had an office and I was spending $2,000 or $3,000 a month on that office, in this case, I spend $100,000 every year or every 18 months on a truck. That's my office. And I can certainly understand that. Anyway, so this year, we were there and he showed me this beautiful, beautiful rough. And he brings these buckets of rough. And usually buckets of rough look like this. And I know this still looks pretty white. This is kind of, but you don't see how it polishes until you see kind of a face like that. This is too white. It's probably not showing very well. But what he does is he polishes a few pieces of the stones so that you can see how it's going to clean up. And he showed us this incredible wild horse. So we took a couple of samples, and Tom and I were walking the show with Judy Kroll, my wife, and we ended up in a place that I call Little Brazil. And Little Brazil has a friend of ours named Artur from Brazil. He brings up a lot of aquamarine, the rutilated quartz, tourmalated quartz, amethyst, citrine, all these Brazilian stones. And he was generous enough, because he has tables out there with all of his specimens, and he let Tom and me put the wild horse samples just to see what kind of reaction it would get, because I had not put it on the air anywhere as a gem to be bought yet. And everybody that walked by that table was immediately attracted to this wild horse. It's amazing, and it's like something nobody's seen before. It's, as I said, like that chocolate and that white. Now remember, magnesite is naturally a white stone. So what you're seeing when I hold up a sample like this is really more of the, yeah, my finger's in the way. But you're seeing what that matrix is in that stone. When we think of turquoise with like a black matrix, which is chert, you know, turquoise is blue, but you see that other color in there. Same thing with this magnesite. Its impurities give it that chocolate brown color on that antique white background. So anyway, we had all of this interest in this gemstone that we put out there, and we had some prices on it. And so the next day, and a lot of people were buying it, the next day, Tom said, I want to see, you know, what the market's really going to be like on this. I said, double the price. So he doubled the price that day and sold more of that the second day than we did even on the first day. It's really a beautiful, beautiful gemstone. It's still relatively affordable. As I said, I bought this sample, I forget how many years ago it was, in, here, let me hold it underneath. I keep blocking your view. But that is natural. There's no dyeing, there's no heating, there's no irradiation. And it looks like I paid, as I said, $65 for this kind of earring specimens. If you get it in the rough, you're going to do even better on the price of that. But this is something I highly recommend if you've never seen it and you want a great American mine stones. It's not like this variety of magnesite hasn't been found anywhere else, but in Arizona they have some absolutely beautiful wild horse. It's relatively affordable, and I think it's something that you would be very, very happy to add to your gem, or if you're like Tommy Lynch, for your loose gemstone collection. Well, that's going to do it for this abbreviated lesson on one of my favorite gems called Wild Horse. I hope that you enjoyed it. Remember, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, tell your friends about it. You can share the videos if you want. But remember, it costs you nothing, but it allows me to keep doing these videos for you for absolutely free. I'll see you all next week, everybody, when our next gemstone lesson drops. Thanks for watching.